So this whole idea that you could buy a affordable car that could do everything for you and be fast as a hot hatchback is totally out the window. There is no more cheap or affordable or attainable or accessible or reasonably priced hot hatchbacks. Let's say you want to buy a car that you can have fun in. A car that maybe is quite fast, that can carry people around, that can just do everything that you want it to do, but also have fun on the weekends, whatever, right? Everyone tells you, online, you do some research, and everyone tells you, hey, buy a hot hatch. The simplest thing. It's like the do everything car, the do everything fast car. But actually buying one is quite more difficult than it actually might seem at first. So let's say you have a budget. Let's say 200,000 ringgit. That's quite a lot of money. You can get a lot of car for that money, but can you buy a hot hatch these days? Looking at the new market, that used to be true, but not anymore. Look, there were always some constants. The daddy of hot hatches, the Golf GTI, isn't even sold in Malaysia anymore. And it wasn't, I think it was like 2018, it was last year. And the Mark 8 Golf GTI is somewhere out there in Europe, in America, and whatever else, but not here in Malaysia yet. And back when they had the 7.5, the last GTI to be sold in Malaysia, that went for 240,000 ringgit. Let's just name a few of the hot hatchbacks that were here before, maybe in a few years ago, but not here anymore. So one was the Golf GTI 7.5, 240,000 ringgit. So that's 40k over budget. And then you had the Hyundai i30N, which was like, they brought 20 units, which is a joke, and they sold it for 299,000 ringgit. That's a lot of money for a Hyundai. And look, it's an excellent car from everything I've read, but that's a lot of money for a hot hatchback. And then you have like the budget option, the Peugeot 308 GTI. Again, they brought in only a few units, a handful, but they sold it for 199,000 ringgit. That's a lot cheaper, and that's sort of just within our budget. But really, if you wind the clock to today, 2021, those cars are not here anymore. What you do have is the Renault Megane Trophy, which is, it's a great car. Renault Megane. Renault makes great hatchbacks, great hot hatchbacks, great fast little cars. But this car is it's really expensive, and it's a trophy version, which is even more hardcore, 326,000 ringgit. Then you have the Civic Type R. That's a great car again, a bit racy here and there, but a great car. That is 320,000 ringgit. And right now, I just went to Honda website, and it said currently unavailable. So I guess it makes sense because they're not making the Honda. They have a new version of the Honda Civic right now, and they're waiting until the new version of the Type R comes to light, and then you can sell that car. But when that does come, get ready to pay 320,000 ringgit for that car. What you do have is the BMW M135i. I don't even know where this car is right now. I haven't even seen one on the road yet. And that goes for, because it's a BMW, 360k. A lot of money. And then you go to the premium more, AMG, 835 4MATIC, 367,000 ringgit. A45, the really fast version, 438,000 ringgit. So this whole idea that you could buy a affordable car that could do everything for you and be fast as a hot hatchback is totally out the window. There is no more cheap or affordable or attainable or accessible or reasonably priced hot hatchbacks. That doesn't exist. Well, because they don't sell anymore in Malaysia, it's only the used market where you can find the cars that you want. The cars that are actually good and actually won't break the bank too much. Buying a hot hatchback, like buying any sports car, you gotta be extra careful, okay? These cars are bought by people just like you and are just as irresponsible as you, maybe even more so. And just think about it. They have a nice, fast, hot hatchback. Why are they selling it? If this car can do everything and this car is so desirable to the point that you want to buy it, why are they selling it? You gotta look at, when you go see the car to test drive it, really scrutinize everything. Interior quality is an indicator of how well this owner took care of their car. Of course, when you test out the car, look at how smooth it runs, check for service history. Most likely this car would be out of warranty, so check service history and just maintenance history generally. Look, these are the kind of cars that people buy to not thrash them, but definitely drive them hard. So there'll be more wear and tear things going wrong with hot hatchbacks in the used market. But besides that, it's to your advantage. If you pick the right car, you can walk away with a really nice, really fast, not really fast, but really nice, desirable hot hatchback. And what are they? You have still the staple of the class, the GTI. So if you go with the Mark 7 GTI, which is still quite recent, you can go with between 2013 to 2018-19 if it's unregistered for around, as of right now, August 2021, you can get it for 110,000 to 190,000 on the used market. So, you know, mileage may vary, it may be different spec, maybe even a recon unit, a Japan unit, something imported, but hey, you gotta pick the right car. You gotta look at a lot of duds to find the diamond in the rough. But if you can afford it and you can find it, a Golf R might be worth looking at, even if it's a little bit older. Now with Golfs, of course, you have a really powerful engine, but you also have a slightly temperamental transmission, the DSG, right? So it isn't as bad as the dry clutch units that we got here and that cause all the problems, but look, the DSG is a little bit more problem prone, so just be careful of that. Check for good shifts, check service history, check whether or not major components have been replaced. If they have, that might be a good thing if they got it done at a reputable place. Because if this is a failure point, a weak point, having it done already could save you a lot of money and actually extend the life before something else goes wrong down the road. So Golf GTI, and if you can find it, I think it's still worth it to buy a Scirocco 2.0 TSI. This isn't really a hot hatch. This isn't really how... I don't think Volkswagen actually marketed this car as a hot hatch, but it's based on the Mark 6 GTI, so I think it's a pretty hot hatch anyway, just by association. And so this would go for, these days, between, you can find like a 09 model year to 2015 model year for around 80k to maybe a little bit more than that. I think they're still worth it because it's so unique. It's the coupe hatchback, it's a Scirocco, you don't really see a lot of those, and it's a genuinely fun car and nice to look at. I'm a sucker for that. And if you can find it, if you're lucky, a Scirocco R. This is a Golf R with a much prettier body. And that can go for 80k, depending on the year and the spec and the mileage and everything else, to around 120k. That's pretty okay. You gotta decide whether or not you're the kind of person who would want a Scirocco R and you would want to deal with all those issues and you wouldn't mind an older car. What else do you have? Mazda 3 MPS. This is the older, now is the older, the 2 generations ago, Mazda 3. This is the MPS version or the Mazda Speed version. Powerful engine, 2.2 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, going through the front wheels, classic setup, and it's proven to be quite reliable relative to everything else. Manual gearbox, so it's a raw hot hatch. It's a little bit, it's not as refined, it's not as controlled, and it's a little bit of a wild child because all that power, like 220 horsepower, go through the front wheels with no real mechanical differential to split the power, split the torque. You get torque steer, and it's a bit of a wild child, but it's a good thing. It's a little bit, untamed. It's nice. But then you go to the Renaults, and these are popular too. So what can you get with a Renault? You can't get anything based on the newest Megane or the newest Clio. Well, the Clio because it doesn't exist yet, and the Megane because it's too new and it's really expensive. So you go with the previous gen Megane RS, only as a 3-door. So that can go between, from what I've seen on the market, can go between 80k to 120k. That's gonna give you a lot of car. At least 250 PS, and for a Renault, it's actually very reliable. Very few cars from France are this reliable without doing anything. Unless you mod it up, that's your own prerogative. But even with modding, these cars hold up. That powertrain is really robust. I don't know what they've done. But yeah, if you find it, it'll be an older car. And most likely, just based on the community of people who own that car, most likely will be modded already. So do your own research and take your time. Besides that, another French car, 208 GTI from Peugeot, that's also a good car. And it's an engine that I've I'm familiar with. I own a car with the same engine. It's got its own issues, but nothing really. Look, there's some weak points here and there, but on the large, it's actually quite reliable, and it's a manual. It's really tight. It's the best GTI from Peugeot since the iconic 205 GTI. So it's one worth owning, and these days you can get one as little as 60k for a 2014-15 unit. That's insanely good value-wise. Whew. Okay, so those are your choices, and for 200k you can't buy it new. You gotta go used, because if you're gonna go new right now, maybe for 200k your choices would be quite slim even like 10 years ago. Right now, they are non-existent. You can't find a hot hatch for under 300,000 ringgit, which is crazy because these are cars these are compact cars. These are not supposed to be supercars. These are not meant to be, this is not like a Porsche Boxster, but you're approaching those prices. It doesn't make sense. Sure, they're faster now, but is it really worth it? So that was a little rundown, maybe a little bit rushed on what the state of hot hatchbacks are in Malaysia. What would I get? Let's just leave off with that. What would I get? If I could find a 308 GTI, I would get that. I mean, that is a really nice car. One thing good about hot hatches, especially if they're German or European, is that they depreciate like crazy. If you buy the MPS, the Mazda 3 MPS, those actually costed like 50k a few years ago. 50k, 60k, and now they're up to 80k. Everything Japanese and fast, or potentially fast, has been upping in price for like the last 2 years, and it's honestly not even worth it to get that. I think it's a bubble. But if you get something like an Audi or BMW, whatever, that's fast, you can still get it at a really good price just based on how much they depreciate over time. So even a 3-year-old European car would be like 50%, 40% its value if you buy the right one. Yeah, so what would I get? Yeah, definitely 308 GTI. That car is insanely fast and just rare and so nice inside. And really, I just want one. I'm a Peugeot guy. I own one right now, and they only brought in like 20 or 25 or 50 at the most, and they took a while to sell. I think the last unit that they brought in, that NASA brought in, was only sold a few months ago. And this is a car that was teased at the 2018 KL Motor Show, 2018 Klims, and it's only been sold, like the last one at least 6 months ago. It's rare, that's what I'm saying. If I can't find that, and most likely I couldn't find that, I would get actually a BMW 120i. Now, BMW worked with Peugeot to create the Prince engine, and this car, the 120i, has that same 1.6 turbo petrol 4-cylinder. And in this tune, from stock, you would get 170 horsepower, but that engine can take much more. With the right tune and the right mods, it can go well past 200. And come on, it's the last compact BMW hatch to have a rear-wheel drive configuration, right? Right now they've gone to the new 1 Series, and the new 1 Series has basically a tweaked version of the Mini platform. So front-wheel drive, that's just wrong. So 1 Series, the F20 120i, mod it up, do it really tastefully, maybe get the car lowered, nice suspension on it. It's a great car. Now it's going for 100,000 ringgit for like a 2016, 17, model year. That's a pretty good price for BMW. And it's pretty reliable. It looks so damn good. And it's the closest thing that we were gonna get to a M140i or M135i from like 10 years ago. That's a really great combo. So that's it. Really short video, or short as I can make it, for hatchbacks. Not really short at all, actually. Look, if you're looking for a hot hatchback or a fast car, a hot hatchback is the way to go. I still think it's the best option for all the different formats of cars that you have right now. And it's a shame that we can't really find more of those. But if you're looking for one on the used market, good luck to you. If you find the right one, it's a really rewarding thing to own and to have and to drive. So good luck. I'm out.